Welcome to the Infinite Rabbit Hole, the podcast that goes beyond the ordinary to explore the unexplained. Tired of recycled content? Good, because we dig deeper to uncover fresh perspectives on cryptids, conspiracies, paranormal phenomena, ancient mysteries, and everything else in between. Our hosts bring unique viewpoints and lively debates for diverse insights to make every episode a journey into the unknown, backed by research and knowledge that goes beyond the first page of Google. If you love diving into the unknown with us, we'd love your support to keep the journey going strong. Here's how you can help. First, leave us a 5-star rating and a quick review on your favorite podcast player. It's one of the best ways to help new listeners discover the show. Or, if you prefer, head on over to infiniterabbithole.com and drop your review there. Want to hear yourself on the show? Leave us a voicemail on our website, and we'll play it at the start of our next episode. Share your thoughts, a story, advertise your project, or even suggest a topic. We'd love to feature you. For the more immersive experience, join us live on Twitch every Sunday at 8 p.m. at twitch.tv/Infinite Rabbit Hole. Chat with us in real time, share your thoughts, and be part of the action as we explore the unknown together. And for those of you looking for exclusive content and behind-the-scenes goodies, check out patreon.com/Infinite Rabbit Hole. It's the best way to support the podcast and get access to premium episodes and more. Thanks for being part of the Infinite Rabbit Hole community. Now, let's get back to exploring the Infinite Rabbit Hole. That's the sound of a 60. Not the silent one that killed Bin Laden, but the regular one.
The regular 60, yeah.
Yeah, the regular loud one. All right, a few announcements real quick. We just announced our second tier to our Patreon today. It comes fully loaded with a bonus episode every month. It will be a solo documentary. January is going to be the John Titor Time Traveler story, which is looking to be my absolute longest episode I've ever done. Currently sitting at 22 pages of stuff, and I'm only halfway through the research. So,
oh my goodness.
Yep, it's going to be a long one.
Nerd.
As a bonus, every 3 months, you will get an additional sit-down conversation with myself and my co-hosts. It'll be on the last, I believe I said Monday. You have to check the description to be for sure. But I'm pretty sure it's the last Monday of the quarter. So it would be on March, June, September, and December, starting in 2025, where we will discuss the 3 topics that we covered in that quarters. Month 1, John Titor the Time Traveler. Month 2, we are reworking and plugging in a ton more information on Skinwalker Ranch, which was voted upon as a subject that you guys wanted to see remastered and redone with a whole bunch of new content. And then we posted a poll on Patreon this morning asking you what you wanted to see or hear in March. And the 6 topics that we chose, hold on, I have to find it. Give me a second. Look at me, I'm not professional at all. But the 6 topics that you can choose from are. All right, for your aliens and UFOs topic, we got Betty and Barney Hill, cryptids and critters, chupacabra, science and medical, deja vu, alternate history or reality, electric universe, location-based topic, Wisconsin high strangeness, and the wild card topic for March could potentially be Project Paperclip. So whichever topic wins will become the project for March. That topic will be removed from polling and replaced with another topic to be voted upon for April. With that being said, I'd like to re-welcome all of you to this thrilling episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. Let's start with Unabomber Jeff. What's up, dude?
Not a lot of bro, just chilling like Bob Dylan. What's up with you?
Not much, man. I got you and Jacob some gifts today that I'm sending you tomorrow. Jacob's got to wait because I don't trust him not to open it. So but the rule is,
nice, man. I
yeah,
appreciate that.
Dude, you're gonna love it. I think you're gonna really fucking dig it, to be honest with you. The rule is you can't open it until we're recording episode 200, which will be December 22nd, I believe it is, officially. I know that we kind of bounced that around a little bit I can't
The
bring my
box
calendar
better not
up.
be ticking when it gets here.
It's
'cause if
not even a
ticking,
box.
I'm not going to hold on to it until the day that we're recording. It seems a little suspicious.
It's not even a box. It's gonna be a bag. But anyways,
A
the
bag.
bag will have psychedelic drugs in it that poof into your face when you open it.
Yopa.
Yeah. We're doing the Stoned Ape Theory, so we have to make sure you're stoned.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Thank you.
So I'm kind of excited, dude. I'm really, really excited about that. It's gonna be a great episode. Also, I want to announce for the 200th episode, make sure you're here because we're gonna do our first ever giveaway here on the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. I'm going to be giving away one of the gifts. Well, so Jake and Jeff will have their gifts, but you can also get one of them as well. When you see it, I will be giving one away for every 10 people in the chat that night. So if we have 20 people, we'll do two. We'll at least be giving away one, though. And then we'll give you a stack of stickers. We'll probably have some other things to give away as well. Jacob, sick Jake. What's up, dude?
Dude, I'm so sick. I can't focus on stuff.
Yeah? What
I
you
feel
drinking?
like I'm drunk. Like I'm just, it's terrible.
Yeah?
But I wanted to come on here to talk to Phil, so here I am.
He said, and quote, I'm not going to go because I don't feel good. And I was like, hey, guys, here's a screenshot of my conversation with our guest, Phantom Phil. And he's like, okay, I'm coming on. Pretty much exactly how it happened.
Pretty much exactly how it happened.
Speaking of Phantom Phil, welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole, dude.
Yeah, great to be back. Thank you for having me. Good to see you
man.
guys.
It's been a long time. What was the last episode we did here? I know we've been on your show a few times. What was the last episode you did here with us?
It's got to be like a good 2 to 3 years at this point, man.
Do you
It's
think-
getting up there.
Was it The Simpsons Time Travel?
Yeah,
Was that the last one?
if it wasn't that one, it was like just after. So it's pretty close.
Dang, man, it's been a while, huh? I've done you
Yeah.
dirty.
Well, we've gone through a lot of transitions, a lot of changes since then, and here we
Done
are.
dirty.
Yeah. So Phantom Phil is the host of the Unexplained Inc. podcast. Good friend of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Good friend from pretty damn close to the beginning of the show. We became friends through a mutual friend, CJ. I don't know if anybody's listening to this knows who that is, but he was a guy that was part of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast, and then he just disappeared. I haven't talked to him in forever. It's like he doesn't love me anymore. Doesn't even check to see if I'm okay. Just lives his life, not worrying about me anymore. Yep. Kind of rude.
Are you okay?
I was until I started thinking about that.
He
Yep.
loves you.
Damn.
He was on my show just a couple of weeks ago. He's got a lot of love for you still. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, I haven't heard it in a while.
Okay.
If you're listening, CJ, let me know. Same. Yeah. Anyways, so a lot of changes going on over there at Unexplained Inc. What you want to take us through some of the stuff that's going on over there?
Some of the changes since we've last
Yeah.
connected. Yeah, absolutely. Before I get into that, though, I'm so happy for you guys with your upcoming 200th episode. My 200th episode will be on April 11th, 2025. And the reason I bring that up is I just confirmed the guest for that episode this past week. And
Yeah?
it's going to be a live stream in one way or another. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I'll just say this. I'm not going to give away who it is, but it is someone who is quite local to me. So Southern Ontario, Canada, who has a rather wide international following in this field of the fringe and the unexplained. So that's all I'm going to say for now. More details to come later, and the 5-year anniversary of the show will be taking place at the end of March. That is just going to take place right now. But Jeremy, do you want me to get into some of the overall changes that have gone through with the show?
Yeah. Real quick though, I just want to put out. Jake messaged me. He's obviously not feeling good. He sounds like shit today, but he wanted to make sure he got in and be able to say hi to you, Phil. So Jake bounced for the night. But yeah, absolutely, man. Let's hear some of these changes. I want to hear because I want to hear about this alter ego that you got too.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, peace out, Jake. Hope you're feeling better soon, and we'll reconnect soon. It's a shame you couldn't be here. So I was doing 12 episode seasons for about 3 cycles. And the reason I did that, that started in April of 2022 because I was approaching burnout and stagnation and I had to change something. So I thought, why not do these 12 episode seasons with a theme? And it worked out really well for a while. The problem is that I started killing my own momentum. I would get to a peak at the end of the season, and then by the time I ramped up the following season, which would be like 2 to 3 months later, I'd have to start from scratch all over again. And then I started to realize, why am I doing this? Like, I'm at the point where I can make my workflow continuous.
Hmm.
So Easter weekend of this year, at the end of March, I came back with an assortment of solo episodes, and I was very, very, very close to gaining a co-host. Unfortunately, that whole arrangement fell off of a cliff. So it all came back onto me, and it's still me to this day. So I'll just quickly break down the solo episodes, then my alter ego. I started an hour-long episode chat called the Consciousness Cafe. It goes a little bit outside of the unexplained incorporated paradigm. So I have on counselors, healers, spiritual people that I can talk to without tying it in all into unexplained phenomenon necessarily, and that's what CJ did at the end of November.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I have The Great Escape, which was like kind of like a motivational speaking solo series I did, and to geek out on things I can't normally geek out on. However, it's evolved into a chapter by chapter novel, and I don't know when it's going to end, and it has an overriding theme about just trying to escape from the craziness of this modern world for as much as we can. And the other one, you might find this really neat. Serendipitously, at the end of 2023, I learned a little bit on how to astral project. Okay.
What?
Yeah, yeah. Now, I am by no means an expert and I'm still learning, but I hooked up with a guest on the show who took me through some training, showed me a ritual on how to do it. So I've made some progress with it, but I can't do it like with ease. So I started something called the Astral Report, and I thought this would be really cool to do solo episodes on my astral projection, but it might be kind of chaotic and random. And then I decided back in the spring, why don't I project back to famous unexplained events like UFO crashes and stuff like that? So I've done 2 of them so far. I was going to do a third one this month, but I have to bump it into January. Those episodes are they're shorter and they're very raw. A lot of it's me recording into my phone. And I do say it's for entertainment purposes only because
Okay.
I'm not trying to say I know history or I know the answers to unsolved mysteries. I'm just reporting what I'm seeing and you jump to your own conclusions.
It's like a docudrama kind of thing.
What do you mean by docudrama? I just want to make sure I answer that properly.
So it's like a documentary with a skit.
Yeah, but the skit is based on an actual experience I had in the
Yeah.
astral. It's not
Okay.
it's not quote unquote fiction. It's what I'm perceiving as my experience. Like for example, the first one I did was the first reported American UFO crash in rural Missouri that happened before Roswell, like a good 6 years before Roswell.
Is that the
And
one with the screams?
I don't think
Sorry.
that's the one. No, no.
No.
And hold on, I'll pull it up on my browser here. But while I'm doing that, I'll just quickly explain my alter ego.
Hmm.
So, as you well know, I like to dabble into conspiracies like Mr. Jeff, and maybe to a lesser extent you and Jake. But I'm not really a conspiracy podcast. And Jeff, why do you look so shocked?
He
I
doesn't
don't know
like
what
conspiracies.
you're talking. I follow all the narratives, my friend. What do you mean?
You're just such a normie, aren't you?
He's getting CNN tattooed on his nipples.
I am
CNN
seeing it.
and ABC, right? My alter ego. Long story how this came to be, so I won't get into it right now. But I decided to tackle some of the darker conspiratorial topics. I was going to come up with an alter ego based on my own shadow, my dark half. And I'm making him as arrogant and as obnoxious as you possibly can. So basically, the things we don't like and we stand for, this alter ego stands for. Like, he wants singularity. He wants people to be dependent on the system and to get sick. He wants never-ending war. And I feel like when trying to teach people about some of these darker topics, you have to inject a bit of absurd humor into it. And alongside that, I started going from audio-only episodes to video streams as well. And now my video episodes are available on Rumble. And the return of this alter ego, Phantom Phil Fortune, will be in mid-January, not too long after the presidential inauguration, and I'm going to have a ton of material to work with.
Interesting. How's that working out?
It's been interesting so far. The
Yeah?
feedback's been positive. There may be some people I've lost who may have taken it too literally, or they just don't get it, but the overall feedback has been positive. And the first one I did was at a skit at a local metaphysical shop that I know, and I rented their basement out to do it. And then there's one more episode I just recorded here in my home studio with the unexplained backdrop, but I got in full regalia, and I was quite surprised at how quickly I got into the character. So I also want to say, I am not responsible for what that character says and does. He's got his own ego, he's got his own mind, so if he says something you don't like, it's all on him and his container. Don't take it out on me.
So let's play around with this a little bit. So you got yourself and you got your alter ego. How do you, Phantom Phil, feel about the UFO stuff going on right now in the U.S. Congress?
It's interesting. My latest episode, I got into this discussion a little bit. Got into it a little bit with CJ at the end of November, but, it didn't go that far. Now, this guest who I had on my show recently, Karen Holton, she is what I would call the full-fledged contactee on many levels. And her and I kind of both are in agreement right now that a lot of what's going on might be a misdirection or covering some type of a hidden agenda. What exactly, we do not know, but it's just so bizarre that there's this level of acceptance in government institutions and in the mainstream now, whereas a couple of decades ago or even less, like, this would never be brought up. So it just has us going, what's really going on here? Or what is this setting up for? That's pretty much where we're at right now.
Yeah, what are they distracting us from? That's like my biggest question usually is like, what else is going on, or what's really going on? It can't be disclosure. There's no way. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I have a hopeful heart. I want this to be disclosure so bad. Like, I really do. I want to be alive for when this stuff finally takes off.
Well, I think there's a difference between hopeful and belief, right? Like, sure, I'm hopeful that it is disclosure, but I don't believe that it is.
So, Phil, what does the alter ego believe?
Well, the alter ego, he wants you to believe whatever narratives are out there. He doesn't want you to question anything. And it's interesting because the alter ego will likely talk about this in the January episode. So I'm not going to fully disclose it right now. However, the alter ego wants you to trust whatever is said and don't question anything. And he's also not shy about putting his own interests out there and throwing them in your face, just to remind you how stupid you are. That's likely his take on it.
Before we move on, I have an announcement to make. There's a scumbag in the chat. His name's CJ. He doesn't ever reach out and tell me how much he loves me anymore. He just, but it's kind of funny. We were just talking shit about him, and here he is. It's like,
he's here to see me, obviously.
Guys, I'm at the Stiff Socks podcast live show. What does that mean? Tell us what that means. Tell us what that means, CJ. What does it mean? I can't decipher that. Anyways, he must have known that you were on, or this is one of those things that you love, the synchronicities.
Oh yeah, it could be.
Could be a synchronicity. It's probably not though, because it's CJ, but he's probably just stalking us.
CJ's the one that willed this to happen, man. He's the one who manifested it.
Maybe he did. Maybe this is all part of CJ's plan. I don't believe it. Anyways, can you see the chat, Phil? He shouted out to you. He said, "What's up?"
I just want to say, with my device and my last minute change before going live, I cannot see the chat right now. So anything you guys want to relay to me, just relay it to me because I can't see it at the moment.
Yeah, we'll relay that for you for sure. So if anybody does have a question for Phil, sound off in the chat, and then Jeff and I will make sure that we squeeze it in for you guys. But yeah. So what else is going on over there at Unexplained Inc.? So to clarify for some of the people who may be newer travelers of the Infinite Rabbit Hole and may not be too familiar with Unexplained Inc., because we have quite a bit more of a following than we did last time you were on, Phil. Phil is somebody that we worked with very often early on in the history of the podcast. I've been on Phil's show multiple times, 3 or 4 times now. Phil does a show. It's similar to the Infinite Rabbit Hole, but he covers a lot of the subjects that we don't. So if you're very into like the metaphysical, the occult, that kind of stuff, then the Unexplained Inc. podcast is definitely one that you could definitely get into. But at the same time, he does cover a lot of the similar topics as we do, such as cryptids and UFOs and aliens and all that good stuff. So if you like the flavor of the metaphysical a little bit more than what we cover, by all means, I highly recommend Phil's Unexplained Inc. Pretty freaking awesome. Sorry, Phil, I just had to throw that out there because I didn't even write you up an intro today. What a terrible person.
I'm the man who doesn't need an intro. I'll give the intro, man.
There you go. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. So give us some insight. Like if you're trying to get one of the listeners of the Infinite Rabbit Hole, go check out one of your shows. What episode are you recommending right now?
Okay, well, I got a couple for you. I'm just going to say this first off. December, even though we're like almost in the second week, there are just bangers piling up on my end. I recorded an episode yesterday, a 2-hour marathon that's premiering on the 27th, right in the middle of the holidays, and it's one of the most fun episodes I've ever done. One other thing, Jeremy, you hit the nail on the head with what the show is really all about, but one thing that is increased is I'm getting into quite a bit of discussion of psychedelic use, and some of this is based on my own experience and the experiences of my guest. And the December 27th show goes heavily into that. So if you're interested in that, that's one to check out. My most recent episode, December 6th, with Karen Holton of Quantum Guides and Aliens and Angels. That's another really fun one. One I'll throw out there. This was the first full video episode I did after the Phantom Phil Fortune premiere. I got connected with a medical doctor out of Australia named Clayton Spencer, and he was really fascinating because he's letting me know that Sydney, Australia, at least the clinics he's associated with, are legally prescribing psilocybin to psychiatric patients down there. And he's a big part of that. And he's had his own dealings with that in ayahuasca, and he couldn't get into too much on the air because he is still a licensed practicing physician. And he could be in trouble if he says too much. But what really fascinated me was at the same time, and I didn't even know this until we started recording together because for whatever reason the prep was minimal and his background was minimal. He's a shaman who's been to shamanic tribes and initiations all around the world, and he researches cryptids. And I'm finding this out in the middle of the interview, and he's telling me about cryptids in like Ireland and Australia and the UK, and it was just an episode that really snowballed into something I wasn't expecting, and I think it's a really good representation of where the show is at as well. And another thing we touched upon was, from a shamanic perspective, the transition of passing over into death and the why it shouldn't be feared. So like you guys, I like to have fun on the show once in a while, but it can also get extremely deep and profound as well. It depends on where the conversation goes. So those would be good episodes to check out if you're new to this and it interests you.
Well, all right. So I got a ton of stuff we could talk about right now, including last week we went through an exercise here on the show, and the chat went nuts, and we got a lot of people involved there. So we may end up having to visit that again, Jeff, if you're down. But let's talk about the psychedelics really quick, because this is something that I've been researching very heavily lately. Because, like I said, our 200th episode, which we'll be recording in 2 weeks from today, we're going to be doing the Stoned Ape Theory, which is Terrence
Well, are we about to have
McKenna's.
like a little teaser conversation about that, bro, right now?
Man, I wish. I mean, we could talk about it a little bit, right? Okay, so for those that aren't in the know, because this episode is going to be coming out after the 200th episode anyways. I don't think this episode is going to drop until late January, honestly.
Hey, if you're in the chat live, man, you get the real benefits, man. You get the bennies.
That's right. This is something that you only hear right here, right now. By the time the rest of the world hears it, it'll already have been spoiled. But basically, the Stoned Ape Theory is Terrence McKenna's theory. He passed away a while ago, but he had this amazing theory that the human intelligence evolved extremely fast in a span of about 3 million years, due to us coming out of the trees and hitting the grasslands of the savanna, which is, what's commonly referred to as the savanna hypothesis, which is something that we also covered in the aquatic ape theory episode a little while back. Actually, at the beginning of 2024, we covered it. But where he adds to that particular hypothesis is when we came out of the trees, we started walking upright. We came across feces all over the grasslands by grass grazing herbivores like cows and ungulates and hoofed animals, which creates a stool or feces that is the perfect growing material for psilocybin laced mushrooms. And in a physical adaptation or evolution, depending on what term you like to use, that took 1 million years to grow our cranium 3 times the size, grew our cranial capacity 3 times the size. That same change in the same period of time is seen over a multitude of different species, but with a sliver of a fraction of a size increase, meaning like 0.2%, where we literally had our craniums grow 3 times bigger in the same time frame.
So basically, the mushroom, the psilocybin, is the key that helped us become self-aware, intelligent, conscious, like however you want to.
Yeah, it all lines up. It lines up perfectly well. When you look at the time frame from when we came out of the trees and the receding of the African rainforests, and the need to get out of the trees, and then you look at the bovine, the ancient bovines that existed back then, and how their diet relates to the diet of bovines and ungulates that share the African savanna now, and how their diet would have created a feces that is very, very similar to the one that is created now, and how psilocybin mushrooms still grow to this day on poop all over Africa. I mean, all over the world, really, even here in America.
Not only that, but like basically the entire Earth is a giant network, a giant web of, like mycelium and of mushrooms.
Fucking
the Earth
nuts.
is a mushroom essentially, right? So,
well,
yeah, it's crazy. And then you get into like panspermia and shit like that, and it's like, is
panspermia is wild.
Yeah, you get into the idea: is the spore the intelligence that's being spewed across the cosmos, right?
Yeah. Well, so for anybody who doesn't know what the term panspermia means, it means that living organisms traveled on most likely like a comet or asteroid or meteor, landed on the planet or some sort of spatial debris from another planet from a collision, and landed here on Earth. And those organisms, most likely bacteria at the time, because we know that, like,
or in this case, spores,
right? Because we know tardigrades can survive out in the vacuum of space. But basically, They hitched a ride, landed on Earth, and grew from there, which we have evidence of this happening from Mars, by the way. We have evidence of Mars-based rocks here on Earth. So we know that
No,
transpermia,
that's because those rocks are from Greenland. They're not from Mars, but that's another fucking story.
that is a whole nother fucking story. Anyways, so when you get into psilocybin mushrooms and how the changes in the human intelligence took place, and you look at the three big things that happened. One, we started standing upright and we became more evasive. We became smarter in our hunting. Two, we fucked like rabbits and our population just exploded. And three, we created culture and religion. So if you look at the three, the way Terrence McKenna broke it down in his book, Food of the Gods, is that there's basically three levels of dosing yourself with psilocybin or psychedelics like materials like peyote or whatever it's called, right? LSD, peyote, LSD, take your pick, right? The first one is
MDMA.
the first one's a microdose, right? And in micro doses or batches, you can increase your senses. And there's actually a lot of tests that have been done where people can spot subtle changes in advanced artworks and or in advanced situations where it's like, okay, find the one long piece of hair in this pile of hair, and people who were given LSD can find, in small doses, by the way, can find that.
I call it the hyper awareness, right? That's what I've experienced on this, is that on low doses of pretty much any psychedelic, you become hyper aware, almost as if a filter has been removed from reality, and you can just notice things on a, not a microscopic level, but you can definitely notice things on a much smaller and like more tuned in level than you can normally on lower doses of any psychedelic.
The way that Terrence McKenna explained that was, this could be the reason why we became, like, why we were able to outrun our predators, why we were able to outsmart our prey.
Hunting.
Where we were
small tools and like arrowheads and
all this stuff starts coming together. And then the middle dosage, right, which I can't remember what he called it, but I have it in the presentation. Basically, this increases your sexual arousal, right? It makes you want to fuck, and it makes you want to fuck everything. So basically, when you look at the population boom around the exact same time as, when we came out of trees and discovered the psilocybin mushrooms attached to cattle shit on the African savanna, you see the corresponding population boom, okay, which is a side effect of a medium dose of psychedelic drugs. Then when you do a high dose or a macro dose, then you start getting or hallucinating, but it's not just visual hallucinations. It's also hallucinations that attack and send signals to all five of your senses, every single one of them.
Dose.
Yeah, the heroic dose, right? So they say that the heroic dose is what gave birth to things like religion, culture, maybe even language, where they were speaking to each other with an open mind in the psychedelic realm of psilocybin shit-covered mushrooms.
I've literally had what I could only equate to like spiritual, like profoundly spiritual experiences on high doses of certain psychedelics before.
Well,
and I've always thought to myself that if I lived 1,000 or 10, if I lived 1,000 or 10,000 years ago and I had those experiences that I had, there's no other way that I could have explained that than with some deity or some whatever, right? Some higher being.
And you probably would have been like, "You won't believe what I witnessed, everyone. Follow me. I know the way."
Absolutely. But it is crazy.
But you start, you think about this kind of stuff and the amount of knowledge or perceived knowledge that they could have been receiving from this. Terrence McKenna says that this could easily have been one of the very first stages of a human culture, where generation after generation after generation started getting into these psychedelic mushrooms because they were giving them great religious wisdom or experiences that they could not get without the help of the psilocybin mushrooms.
And then not only that, but then you have like more recent studies where they're showing that psilocybin and MDMA and a few others are actually like rewiring neural pathways.
Yep.
right? So they're doing things like right now they're using it clinically for things like curing addictions, helping with like anxiety and depression and these types of things because it's like remapping the brain literally.
Dude,
So,
there's a
you imagine going back a million years and you have these ancient humans eating this like on a regular basis, like what that would be doing to the mapping of the developing
Yeah,
brain.
and like there's no dose calculator. They're just consuming whatever.
yeah, right.
Right.
Completely
And
fucked.
babies, they were giving it to the babies. Like,
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I just want to add to what Jeff said really quickly is that my dear friend who she helped me with the video shoots and the photos for my character, my alter ego. She's dealt with a lot of anxiety and mental health stuff, and we didn't see each other for like over a year up until we did this shoot recently, and she told me that she started microdosing and it's helped her anxiety and her mental health obstacles big time. So there is definitely credence to that. And one more thing I want to add before Jeremy picks it up here is that I've been doing a lot of clearing and internal shadow work over the last year or two, and it's really reached a new level here in 2024, and I've been talking about that a lot on the show. Whatever negative baggage and shadows you're carrying, those will come at you full force with psychedelic ingestion. But if you get rid of most of it, odds are, and it's different for everybody, odds are your trip will be magical and beautiful. But if you're carrying around a lot of ugly infernal stuff, it's going to come at you first, and it's not going to be very pleasant. And
Yeah.
I am speaking from experience.
Oh man.
yeah, no, definitely agreed. It's not for everybody, right? And you got it. It's all for me. It's always set and setting. That's a big part of things, right? A lot of people fuck up and they go out and just try to party, and it's like, no. But there's a reason that now they're trying to do this clinically, and like, or you go to like a shamanic practice somewhere, and if you can't do either one of those, and if you really feel it, set and setting is important. So
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
Yeah. There's a big push right now in the veteran medical field for the tests of psychedelics used on veterans with PTSD.
Like Ibogaine.
Yeah, exactly, Ibogaine. So, I mean, there's a lot there, man. There's a lot there, and another thing that Terrence McKenna brought to my attention too while I was reading this book, and I had to go and research, and I found myself going down this rabbit hole of reading peer-reviewed articles on fungus and its correlation to human DNA and everything. Apparently, between the three major kingdoms, right? You have plants, Animalia, and then you have the fungal kingdom. We actually share more in common with fungus and mushrooms than we do with plants. And at some point down the road, it's not proven, but it's conceivable or perceivable that we may have even evolved from the same line when we ourselves could be potentially a type of fungus or an evolved form of fungus. Could you imagine that? How crazy would that
Hey,
fucking
man.
be?
And especially if it came from somewhere else, like another planet, like
Yeah.
it's mind-blowing to think that, how much evidence is there for that? Who really knows? Because we still don't really understand the universe, right? So it's like,
Right.
but
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add to that real quick, and I've been talking about this with some of my guests recently, is that abductees and constant contactees, they're starting to kind of string a theory together that these people might be getting targeted by certain ETs, or what they perceive to be certain ETs, is because they actually share the DNA with those races. And if that's the case, who knows? But the more I hear, the more I'm really starting to wonder. And that I just thought of that when Jeff said, well, what if we have, the same DNA as these fungi or mushrooms and it's from another planet? And of course, that's just where my mind goes from there.
Yeah. So I can't remember what you were saying that put me down that path there, Phil, but I just had to get that out because, oh man, the rabbit holes that I've been down with psychedelics lately is just absolutely nuts, and it's some of the most fascinating shit that I think I've ever come across.
Let me ask you this, with the rabbit holes, pun fully intended in the research you're doing, are you anywhere closer to willing to try them in any way, shape, or form, or are you like, nah, this ain't for me?
Dude, man, I'm telling, like, if I didn't have kids in the house, because I like Like, I'm not gonna lie, man. I really was like wonder whether or not we should be getting some microdoses for the 200th episode. Not gonna lie to you, man. I really wanted to do it. I did, and I'm like, no, I can't. Like, I'm a dad, man. I can't do that stuff right now.
Yeah, no,
Again,
it's
it's
just
a set and setting type of thing, man. You got to make sure, especially if it's going to be something that you're doing for your first time, bro. You got to really make sure you kind of think about that. But hey, you can always come down to Florida and hang out, and we can make something happen, brother.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Probably not. To be honest with you, I talk a lot of shit right now, but probably pussy out. To be honest with you.
Fair enough.
Just remember, I am a father as well, but I don't have nearly as many children. So, like, I only have one, and I've been able to make space in their absence and usually do it at a neutral site. So, I mean, just what Jeff said, it's all about set and setting. And I just want to share real quick where I'm at with things. It's super interesting how this happens. Within the last 6 months to a year, I've gained hookups for both DMT and ayahuasca if I want them. I
Jeez,
am
man.
still, yeah, and I didn't even intend for it to happen. It just happened, okay? And I'm still on the fence on whether I want to go there or not. But I think my next logical step is to find myself a nice sweat lodge somewhere in rural Ontario and just see what that does to me. So I won't go too in depth in this right now, but this calendar year, I've discovered a modality called shamanic breathwork, which doesn't have any tobaccos, no psychedelics, no drugs of any kind, but it will put you into a state to release the DMT in your brain. And things will really happen for you. And the messages you will get are pretty interesting. And and like I said, I have contacts that could probably point me to a nice indigenous sweat lodge, and then I'll probably be tripping like crazy. And I feel like I might want to do that before I start dabbling into the stuff that's even harder than mushrooms. So I just wanted to bring that up. It's crazy where it's all going with me.
Man, it makes me extremely curious. Like, I'm already, naturally a very
Yeah.
curious person, and to think that I could be missing out on some really epic shit by not partaking drives me nuts. But I don't know, man. I gotta be careful with that. I don't know.
I know, but you'll align with it at the right time if it's meant for you. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. We'll see when I get old. Maybe when I have no responsibility, all retired and stuff, and
Exactly.
Give it a few years, man. It'll be something I think that'll be pretty normal.
Yeah.
Just like medical marijuana is pretty normal now. I think give it 5, maybe 10 years at the most. I think people will come around and you'll be able to take, like medical versions of psilocybin or MDMA or whatever.
MDMA is another one that's making its way into medical studies right now too.
That shit's awesome.
Yeah, no, I have never, but I mean, I suffer from PTSD, and I'm a military vet, so who knows? Maybe I'll get prescribed something.
Degenerate, you know what I mean?
Good stuff, Phil. Good stuff. What else were you saying? Like, I should have wrote that down too. I was like, man, he's spitting off a whole bunch of really good stuff that we could talk about. And as soon as you said something about psychedelics, I was like, oh, I guess that's what we're going to talk about.
And then he said he gave away the whole episode.
No, I didn't. I swear. There's for those of you that are in the chat, if you guys found that topic interesting, you guys are going to absolutely love episode 200. It is awesome. And I made sure that I cut it down. I did cut it down a little bit. Eventually, maybe one day we could do a part 2 to it, but I wanted to make sure that episode 200 stays to just one episode. It may be a little bit of a longer episode comparative to others, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. I just can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. I'm giddy, man. I'm not going to ruin the surprise. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Not going to do it, Phil. Phil, I can't. I'm not going to do it.
You gotta keep those surprises intact. I'm doing the same thing. I'm sitting on some interesting stuff right now. So I mean,
yeah. Well, I could share the surprise with you. I could do that. You just can't tell anybody else, especially Kenzar, because I know she's in the chat right now. She better not. Crystal says you cut the episode down. I'm proud of you. Thanks, Crystal. Thanks. It honestly, like, it most likely, or it should have been two parts. Oh, do you have a hard time keeping gifts a secret? Oh, I do. Kenzar, it's bad. Like, before we even got into live, I was talking about that because I got Jake and Jeff a gift for episode 200. Episode 200 part 2 is exclusive for Patreon. That's the one where we're all gonna trip on psilocybin mushrooms. You gotta subscribe if you want to see some stupid shit.
I don't want to speak on his behalf, but Jake might be even less ready for that than you are, Jeremy. Just a hug.
I'm sure. Phil, I'm sending you a picture of it right now.
Okay.
Oh wait, hold on. Never mind, I'm not doing it right now.
I may not see you till later anyway, so that's okay.
That's fine. I think this is gonna be so cool. Let's see, what Jeff, do you want to get into that that little exercise that we did last week?
Yeah, man, we can do that. Give me like just a second though. I need to fill up my water. So
Yeah, go for it. Well, I mean, you know what it is, so you can come back, right?
yeah, but I have a memory of a goldfish. So just give me like a second.
Okay.
Hey,
All
Jeremy, I got something to pitch to you while he's doing that.
Yeah, what you got, man?
So we talked like back in the late spring, and you're like, "Hey, come on the show as long as you can think of a topic." And for whatever reason, I couldn't align with the right topic over these last few months. How does this sound to you? I come on a future date, and we do an episode on hypnotherapy, past and future timelines.
Oh,
So you have something?
No. So I actually got a book back.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I don't know if this is what you're mostly talking about, but this is particularly a book on the children's memories of past lives.
Oh.
And look at this thing.
Yeah,
like this is a beast of a book, man. Eventually this will make it into the rotation for a Patreon exclusive episode. But yeah, so if this is what you're talking about, something along those lines, and you want to do like the hypnosis thing, I mean, if you got to hook up with somebody who can come on and hypnotize us and talk about our past lives or do past life regression, dude, I'd be down. You are?
I'm practicing right now. I don't know if you're not even aware of this, are you? Like I
No,
said,
see, this is
there's a lot going on with me these days, man.
this is what I'm saying, man. Like, catch us up. What do you got?
All right. Well, I guess we'll go here before we do our other thing, since it's kind of relevant now. So, in a few months after we met in November of 2021, one of those Facebook groups we're in about matching up podcast guests, I found a spiritually based hypnotherapist, this German lady who was living in South Africa, and I liked the way she looked. I liked her story, just her whole vibe, and I was like, I should see if I can get her on the show. And she was really busy, so she was able to give me like 45 minutes, which is a bit shorter than normal, but we had a good chat. And then we ended up staying in touch. And then when I relaunched after my hiatus in September of 2022, she came on for a 2-part chat about this Instagram post that she made about what's keeping us weak and disempowered. And it's a chat I loved. I don't know if the listeners loved it so much, but I thought it was a very valuable one to have. And right around that time, she told me she was starting online training for this form of hypnotherapy, and I was really interested. The previous year, I kind of decided I wanted to study it, and there was a place within an hour of me that did it, but they seemed very corporate and sterile, and
A
they
corporate
were
one?
yeah, like the feel was, so I was on board with what they were doing until I read a blog from the founder, and she basically said, "Oh, people seek out hypnotherapy for reasons to change behavior and quit smoking and all this. They don't do it for spiritual woo-woo reasons." And then I was like, "Okay, we're not going to get along here," you know. And then
I am spiritual woo woo.
yeah. That's what I embody. Like, come on. But anyway, I connected with Jenny, and then she was nice enough to come back for a 2-part episode on my show. And then I said, "Jenny, let me know when the program is launching online again, and I'll see if I can join it, pay for it, or whatever." Well, in early 2023, she reaches out to me and she goes, well, I've designed the program to be on demand now, so you can pay for it and do it anytime you want. And when I did the training and I started practicing on others and getting some practice done on myself, I loved it. I fell into it. And I don't want to go too in depth with this yet, but I might be starting an in-person practice in my city in the new year. I'm working out details on that right now. And I can talk about a lot on what's I've experienced, not so much on what people I've worked on have experienced, because there's the confidentiality thing in there.
Yep.
But yeah, whenever we decide to do that, I could go a little bit deeper on the background, and I might be able to do an induction myself, or maybe bring on someone else to do it who wants to practice. So we'll work something out for sure, man.
Yeah, sound off in the chat if that sounds like something you guys would like to check out. I'm down. That'd be cool. I don't think Jake would do it. Jake would. It would be demons.
Well, one option we could do is we could set up separate times, because I do a lot of it over Zoom anyway, and then come on the show and discuss the results and the findings with whatever you feel like discussing.
Kenzar said that she would love that for herself.
Right on.
Kenzar, we got to get Kenzar back on. When are you gonna come back on?
Yeah, she needs to come on. Yeah, Skeeter, the cards look awesome. You can't even really see them on camera that well, but they look good. Thanks.
Skeeter also says that he would like it.
Cool. Yeah, we'll hook it up.
Yeah, let's
That's traction.
hit me up when you're ready. We're going to a newer format where it's gonna be mostly interviews and stuff now. I've got a lot of stuff going on in life. I'm writing a book.
Awesome.
I wouldn't necessarily call it a commissioning from the town here, Elmwood, where we did the UFO Days festival and stuff, but I'm in works with a lot of people there to get a book out. And I'm over 100 pages already done. And I've just got a few things to do over the summer that I can't do right now because it's too cold. But I got some in-person investigations to go do that I want to include into the book. I want to include those experiences in the book. But yeah, so I'm going to go heavy on the interviews and stuff this year so that I can get this book out. I'd like to be able to get it out before UFO Days in July, but something's telling me that I'm not going to be able to. And because if I can't finish the book and I have to settle for doing a part 2 or a sequel book to it, I'm going to be upset. Like I want to put something out complete. I hate trimming the fat on episodes. One of my hugest pet peeves, and that's another reason why I cannot wait to get deeper into this Patreon stuff, because I will not be limited. I'm doing them solo documentary episodes where it's just going to be me. So if it's just 6 hours of me reading off something, Jake and Jeff can't complain about it because they're not going to be there to. They'll have to listen to it because they'll have to be able to talk about it once a quarter. But, I can make sure that I give you guys every single piece of information that I have. Like I said, this John Teeter. Have you heard of John Teeter? Oh, that's the other thing that I wanted to talk about, because you were talking about timelines, right? Oh, no. That you were, but that was later on. But timelines. See, these are the rabbit holes that my mind goes down. John Teeter, time traveler from the year 2036, came back in time to 1975, and that's all I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop right there. I'm not gonna put anything else out. I mean, there's a lot of people that know the John Teeter story, but his story involves what he calls world lines, I believe they are. Sorry, I'm doing research on like 3 or 4 different subjects right now and writing the book, so some of the defining words are escaping me. But he delves heavily into that. So when you were talking about timelines, and I brought up the past life regression of the kids in that book, was that basically what you were talking about, or were you talking more or less along the lines of like parallel worlds and stuff?
Well, I'm going to say a bit of both, because experienced some past life regressions and given some, and I've experienced forays into what are, I believe, are future timelines as well. And this also extends into some sound bath ceremonies I've gone to within the last year as well. Basically, my thesis for the whole thing is that time is not linear. I have my own little ways of backing it up from my own perspective and experiences. I mean, past, present, yeah, I'm willing to go anywhere with that.
Yeah. To answer a question from the chat, Skeeter said, didn't he need a certain computer? And he's talking about the John Teeter story. Yes, he needed to obtain an IBM 5100 from the year 1975. That's all I'm going to go. No more, Skeeter. No more. No more. Yeah. Jeffrey, have you heard of the John Teeter story?
Just from like what you've mentioned in passing, right, in other episodes, and I think maybe I've seen some crazy people on YouTube talk about it before, but
I'm telling you right now, with absolute certainty, you will not get a better breakdown of that story than what I'm going to give you.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it 100%.
I know.
A lot of random crazy ones on TikTok too these days, and it's just like, come on, man, like really?
Yes. Yeah, you're right, Skeeter. You're right. You don't have to shut up, man. I was just playing with you. But yeah, I'm excited about a lot of things. So what else you got going on for you there, Phil? Anything else? Last time I came on your show, we talked about aliens, owls, and UFOs because we did the screen memory stuff here. I can't remember, but did you say that you had Mike Clennon on your show?
I tried to get Mike on my show, and that has
Cleveland.
not happened. Yeah, it has not happened as of yet. I finished both of his books, and well, since we've recorded Jeremy, if you go onto my Instagram, yeah, there we go. Those are both the ones I've read. Yes, Unexplained Inc. Official on my Instagram. They're very low res because they were shot with the phone I'm speaking to you on right now, and it needs to be replaced sooner than later. But I got what I believe are two orb sightings in the sky last summer.
Yeah.
That tied into what you and I talked about on that episode from last May. And since then, it's just weather and life has gotten in the way, so I haven't been able to go out and check anymore. But that's where that is at right now. And it's interesting. My December 27th guest, he started going in this direction, and so I stopped him and I told him the really, really short version of the story I shared with you, Jeremy, and he kind of backed up a lot of things I said. So, and just to reiterate, I've never seen a physical owl on this journey. I was just seeing owl symbols everywhere you could think of, and it would go in relation to a certain type of recurring experience I was having, and I think it's somehow tied into what I believe were those orb sightings from last summer. That's all I have right now. I think that's a story to be continued later on. And Jeremy, I always appreciate you holding space for my ramblings on that particular episode as well.
Yeah, man. No, it was good stuff. It's honestly. Oh, I did I ever show you my tattoo?
I saw it on on social media. I didn't see it personally, but yeah.
Look at that thing. I know it's upside down, but look, the owl. Like,
yeah, man.
I mean, like, I love that subject so much, man, that I had to get that. Funny story about it. I like just doing the research for that episode. I was just messing around with AI, right, trying to get cool pictures of owls because I was trying to create the cover for the thumbnail for the episode, which I ended up creating a pretty badass thumbnail. It's like one of the only thumbnails I haven't thrown away yet. I send them all the rest of them to the trash, but that one is super cool. I love it. And this owl right here, the one that I made the eyes out of, popped up, and I mean it had some funky things behind it and stuff that I had to try to get rid of. I'm not the most tech savvy guy, and I was like, those wings look like the eyes of a gray alien. And so, I scoured Google, just trying to find the outline of gray alien head, just the shape, right? And I ended up having to settle for one with eyes. I got rid of the eyes and put it around it, and I was like, that looks fucking sweet. So I did it, right, and I went to go see my guy over at the tattoo shop. His name's Alex. If anybody's local, Skeeter, I know you're local. It's out in Eau Claire. The name of the shop, I'll bring that up here in a second. But his name is Alex, and he's freaking awesome, dude. He looked at it, he's like, yeah, dude, I can make that fucking sick. And I was like, cool. I'm actually gonna go see him on the 27th of this month to get some more stuff added to the arm. And oh yeah, it is skin prints. Yeah, Skeeter found it. Owens needs to go to sleep. Yeah, go take care of Jake. Yeah. Jake is already 90 nights, by the way, guys. But his wife Whitney Owens said goodnight to everybody.
Night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite.
Yeah, and we were just kind of messing around with it, and I'm looking at it on the picture that he drew, and I'm like, could you do a flying saucer? He's like, yeah, sure. So he did it. And I was like, yep, that's what we're gonna do right there. And like I've been kind of messing around with the idea of getting like because the lore behind I say it's lore, but it's more, I don't know how to explain it, but it's common for gray aliens to be seen in groups of 3, right? So I want to get another gray alien, another gray alien head, smaller, maybe like forced into the background a little bit on this guy, but one on each side of this head, but with like the normal eyes. But then I was also thinking about maybe doing like 2 men in black on each side, and kind of, because they also come in groups of 2 or 3, and tie that, and they've also been around a lot with aliens. So I'm kind of in between things right now of how I'm gonna actually get it done. But yeah, shit.
I might be wrong here, but isn't the number 33 common with some of these abductions as well? It's either 13 or 33 comes up a lot, I think.
I don't know that. I'm sure if Jeff did research into gray alien encounters and stuff, he'd probably catch on to that a lot quicker than I would, because he likes the word play and number play to things. What's that?
What was the specific question, Phil?
I'm just spitballing off the top of my head here, but I thought with some of these abduction cases and screen memories, I thought the number either 33, 13, or some denomination of 3 came up with a lot of people's cases, but I can't remember from the top of my head right.
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I know those numbers are definitely used in a lot of the like symbology and encoding, if you will, I guess. There's a lot of reasons for that. You could break everything down to like a certain set of numbers, right? I'm no mathematician, but you could essentially break every equation of everything down to like a handful of numbers and Fibonacci, blah, 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 right? So, but it is interesting that that's the case, right? Is it like a holographic or a simulated universe of some kind? That's what I always think.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely some sort of architect or god, who knows? But
Well, three's interesting, because especially if you look into the mythos behind like prime numbers, right? I'm not sure about 33, but 3 is definitely a very...
Well, 33 is always spooky because that's like the highest degree of Freemasonry, 33 degrees of Freemasonry, right? And it's apparently, well, obviously not so much anymore, but it's like the secret degree, right? Everybody who's a 32nd degree doesn't even know about the 33rd degree or some shit,
yeah.
whatever the case is. But, I think that's just these secret societies, and like the knowledge that is being passed through these secret societies is just being encoded in these weird ways, right? Where it's like, we'll have 33 levels, and what is the 33? I don't know. Maybe it's the amount of vertebrae in the human spine or some shit like that. But who knows?
Jesus died at the age of 33. It goes on and on.
Right.
Yeah, definitely some crazy shit, man. Shit.
Jeremy,
yeah.
do you have something specific? Because I got something if you don't.
No, go for it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, so you went to the UFO Fest this past
Yep.
summer, which looked like
Yep.
a lot of fun. And I'll announce this too, because I had a really neat story come out of it. Is I went to my first like podcast convention this past summer in Denver, Colorado. And quick backstory on that is my brother has hosted a successful true crime podcast since 2016. And he's part of the reason that inspired me to start my show when I did. And he's been on, I like to mash true crime and the unexplained on the show sometimes. And he's come on as a really good guest with some interviews and some cases where the two have blended together. So my listeners know him pretty good. So what they did, he's been going to the same traveling festival for a few years now, and this year it landed in Denver, and I'm like, oh, I know some people down there. I'd like to go visit. But they expanded it to the True Crime and Paranormal Podcast Festival for the first time, and I'm like, well, that's my in. I just think I need to go. So I go down there and talk to some cool people, set up a booth and all that. But what's interesting is my brother befriended this guy from Western Oklahoma named Rick, and Rick, without being like in full cowboy getup, to me is about as country as you could get, but like a really good down to earth dude overall. And he was like our chauffeur for our time in Colorado, and he took us up to the Stanley Hotel and did some other cool stuff. But we were talking at some point over the weekend, and he just casually says to me, he's like, yeah, he's like, I work for like an oil and petroleum company, and last year we delivered to Skinwalker Ranch. And I'm like,
Oh shit.
I'm like, pardon me? What? So my August 2nd episode of this year, I made a plan to record some interviews and then just make a big mashup episode for that show, and that's what I did. And as soon as Rick told me that, I'm like, dude, you want to grab a beer and like record? Because I mean, even if you don't have much of a story, I got to hear this because this is like totally wild. And like I said, there's nothing completely insane about the story, and the delivery was done in daylight hours. It wasn't, like they camped out there or anything. But he tells me in this interview about some of the surveillance tech he saw and just a lot of really unusual structural things about the property. And yeah, it was just a really interesting experience I ran into. And I'm like, what are the odds I was going to run into a guy who was just like, oh yeah, I went to Skinwalker once on a delivery.
That's freaking nuts.
Yeah.
I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah.
That's
sorry,
one.
my episode from August 2nd, you can find it on my website and all the players. It's up there if you want to hear a little bit more about that. And the last thing I'll say about this is next year, the conference organizers are separating the true crime and the paranormal festivals. So the true crime one's going to Boston in July, and late September, the paranormal one, which I believe is called Beyond the Veil, is going to New Orleans. So I may or may not be appearing in New Orleans at the end of September next year. We'll just have to wait and see. But very exciting things ahead on the convention.
Nice. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. All right. What's up, Jeffrey?
Oh, you want to know what we're talking about next week?
Yeah, so I was gonna have you talk about that when we're walking out of here.
Okay.
But I think we're gonna have to close up shop here soon. Phil, do you have anything else that you want to put out?
No, I think that's just about it. Was there
Sweet,
something
man.
you were wanting to do with the chat though before we wrapped up, or is that too late?
Yeah, we're already an hour and a half in the recording, man. We'll save it for next time because I think it's gonna be a regular thing that we kind of do. It has to deal with human consciousness and
It'll spur an hour and a half conversation by itself, probably. Honestly,
it will. I promise. And plus, it would actually be a really interesting conversation to have with a past life regression exercise, like for real. Skeeter says, "Get Phil for UFO days, doing a talk about his past and future lives." So, spoiler alert: supposedly I am. Amy broke this to me just a little while ago that I am the one that's in charge of setting up the speakers for UFO days this year. Yes, I am becoming much more involved in the festival this year. So if Phil does find his way down here, then yes, Phil will have a spot to do whatever Phil's got to do.
Do you have hard dates for that, Jeremy?
It's always the last full weekend in July.
Okay, I will give that some serious thought. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, man. And if you need a place to crash, between Jake and I, we've got plenty of room. I think Kid said she's coming. Jeff. Hopefully Jeff brings Crystal this time. Doesn't leave her at home. That was terrible of him. So we'll see.
She says she's coming this time.
Yeah. Good. You got to hold his hand while he flies, so he doesn't have some weird lady trying to read his palm.
She might have to, because I hate flying.
As long as he holds mine, because I don't like flying either.
That'll be so cute, Jeffrey, cute.
I know.
But yeah, Phil, we can talk about that, man. You just, if you can make it, let me know, because I gotta try to fill a roster anyways. Cool. So let everybody know where they can find you. Give everybody the.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me unexplainedinc.com. Links to all past audio episodes, a few other like knickknacks like blogs and stuff, and also all the links to all my socials are up there. Instagram, my most active, Unexplained Inc. official. Video episodes, you can watch them on Rumble. Look up Unexplained Inc. and give it a follow. I'm going to be adding more episodes onto the video platform, like with a graphic, and throughout the holidays. So if that's how you like to consume your shows, stay tuned for that. And lastly, tying in with what I said about the hypnotherapy, I do have a website. I haven't had a lot of traffic yet, called lightthewaybackhome.com, and you can make bookings on there for distance hypnotherapy work or distance Reiki as well.
lightthewaybackhome.com.
Yes, all one word.
Ooh, I'm checking it out right now.
It's only
a life of personal empowerment.
Yeah, it's only like 3 or 4 months old.
Phil, I got to get you on the Shadow Band podcast soon, man. We got to do a thing. Whenever you got some time, let me know.
Yeah, I will let you know for sure, man. Absolutely.
Danny, good long-time listening fan of ours, Danny, said, thanks for another awesome episode. Always enjoyable and love the chats. Have a great evening. So Danny's taking off. Danny, have a good night, man. Thanks for showing your support. He's awesome. We have some of the absolute best people that listen to the show, man. They're just I have a problem calling them fans, because they're more friends than anything. It's like I've gotten some really good relationships with some of these people. Like we have a private chat with Skeeter, who we talk to all the time. Kids in it too, which is awesome. Freaking love that stuff. And then of course Kid, yeah, she's pretty cool too. Well, Kid, love it. Cool. Do you have anything else that you want to put out real quick?
No, I just want to say that I have plenty more to discuss on top of what we got into tonight. Some of it I can't get into for the time being, because some of it's quite personal, and some of it I needed to unravel and unfold, because I've been shown in my own little way the next 2 years are going to get pretty insane in ways we didn't even think of. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. I'm curious. Staying curious, Phil.
Of course.
Jeffrey, why don't you go ahead and talk about what next week's episode is about?
Next week, we are talking to somebody I found on Instagram a couple years ago. I've had him on my show before. His Instagram page is Mudflood Memes. He's got a pretty big following on the internet. I don't know all his channels off the top of my head, but he's going to come on next week. And last time we talked, it was like Lost History, Mud Flood, Tartaria, all that good stuff. Maybe it's not year 2024. Maybe it's more like the year 1024. I don't know. He said he had some new information that he's been studying up on, so we'll see what that's about. But
good stuff.
That's pretty much it. And you can find me on all my shit. Shadow Band Podcast. You already know.
That's right. All right. Well, that has been another episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole Podcast. Phil, hang tight for just a few more minutes. Jeff, did you have something?
Oh, I was going to say, I don't know how you feel about trying to shoot off another raid. I have another one of my friends that are streaming on Twitch right now. So whenever you're done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Do I have to do that? How do I do that?
Yes, you'd have to type the raid command and then his username into the chat on Twitch, and it will send all of the viewers.
All 4 of them?
Yeah, all 4 of them.
What's the raid command?
I think it's just /raid.
/raid?
/raid.
And what's his
But
name?
don't hit enter, because as soon as you hit enter, it sends.
No, that's fine. What is it?
Skipatronic. SKIPATRONIC.
All right. Well,
Good
that's been another episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. Phil, hang tight for a minute after we close up. I'd like to remind everybody that if you want extended content, more content, bigger, better, badder content, head on over to patreon.com/Infinite Rabbit Hole, and we do all episodes live now on twitch.tv/Infinite Rabbit Hole. Check us out on all of our socials. For links to all of them, go to infiniterabbithole.com. And until next time, travelers, we will see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Gotta say bye. Oh, it says unrecognized command. Didn't work.
You hate to see it.
Raid / no space, right?
I think it's /raid.
Oh, that's what I did. / raid Skipatronic.
Skipatronic.
Yeah, it's not working, man.
Oh well.
It says unrecognized. I tried my best, dude. I did.
It's all good, brother.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. If you're looking for more of our stuff, head on over to infiniterabbithole.com, where you can find links to all the podcast players that we are available on, and even our video platforms such as TikTok and YouTube. While you're there, make sure to check out all the links for our socials and hit that follow so you know when all the new stuff from our podcast comes out. And until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Goodbye.